Good morning. This is EDSI getting started with FormIt. We enjoy you all joining us for this webcast today as we get started, showing you some good information on FormIt. Would you advance?
I did.
Ms. Mariah.
Not coming through.
Pardon me?
I said, and
Ms. Mariah Roth will be presenting today. She's our BIM application specialist. My name is Douglas Braye, Senior. I'm also a BIM application specialist here at EDSI. Let me introduce our speaker today, Mariah Roth. She has over 6 years of industry experience as architectural project coordinator for architectural firms. She provides BIM management services and assists in implementation by developing templates, standards, workflows to facilitate BIM adoption. Currently, Mariah has worked on coordination projects, model reviews, instructing, as well as technical support. She has provide a great wealth of knowledge and expertise as she's working with us. You can, okay. EDSI, we have over 25 years of industry working with Autodesk. We are a gold partner. We're also a Bluebeam authorized partner as well. We have multiple offices in Charleston, West Virginia, Roanoke, Virginia, which is our home office, and also Greenville, PA. When it comes to Kevin Meredith, our CEO, statement below, our commitment at EDSI is to your success, and we truly value the success of our clients. The business value of conceptual design, there are some key takeaways that we hope you will pay attention to and take away from this webinar today. If your end goal is a BIM model, FormIt is going to be the software we recommend you get started with. Mariah will be going over some best practices today, which will definitely lead into barely any turnover time when it comes to your conceptual model going forward into Revit. This particular webinar that we're doing today is a part 1. We will be doing another webinar later next month, which is going to be part 2 as she takes the model into Revit. With that said, within FormIt today, another compelling thing to take away is that you'll be able to generate your own custom library as well as utilize some of Autodesk content. There's always challenges no matter what you're doing or what goals you're trying to achieve. But one thing for sure, I like the another statement that Kevin Meredith has made, which is organizations that embrace new technologies and find a way to bring more innovative, cost-effective solutions to their clients, they will be the leaders of tomorrow. And I think, this webinar, as Mariah showed, some very key things to what this software can do and what it can do for you will help you move to achieve those types of things. In addition, when it comes to EDSI advantages, what set us apart is, one, our expertise, our experience, Mariah's experience, my experience, also when it comes to implementation, instruction, of course, project assistance. We listen to our clients. We want to understand their workflows, and we really focus in on, your success and, everyone's success. It really gives us great joy when we're able to provide workflows and good ideas on how to do things more effectively. All right, I'll turn it over to Mariah Roth. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. So probably many of you are aware that listening to collection week. When you move forward to collections, you will now have the Pro, and actually in part 2 of the webinar, FormIt Pro talks very nicely with Revit, and there's very little turnaround time to go from your conceptual model to go to a Revit model to full animation model of desire. Everything is now will be part of the AEC collection. A few aspects other than FormIt Pro are Revit Live and InfraWorks, and we have found that all of these softwares and can very much help your business in many aspects. So every project starts with a sketch. This is per FormIt's site, how they want to convey their product. There are 2 versions to everyone: the free version and the pro version. The free is only available on the web, and Autodesk recommends either using Google Chrome or Firefox to use the platform. Unfortunately, it does not speak very nicely with Internet Explorer platform, and then the Pro version does have a Windows desktop that you can use. We're using the version in the Windows desktop platform. That is the one that we have found most easily to be used and understood, and would recommend that to any client. This is a comparison of FormIt to FormIt Pro. One of the things you get with FormIt Pro is time collaboration, analysis, solar analysis, access to the Autodesk material is very similar to the Revit library that many of you might be familiar with, and also access to Dynamo Studio. So a couple key pieces of information about it. FormIt is a solid mass modeling program, or referred to as WADI. Everything has to have some sort of thickness, even if it's a 6 inch. FormIt does not let. Additionally, grouping, layering, and using categories are essential. This comes into play once we move into Revit. and that will help you move forward very quickly to be able to alter your model in any way, shape, or form that you would like. So now we are going to move into the software demonstration portion. So okay, I saw the sound is breaking up, so hopefully this is clearing up for you all. This is recorded, so hopefully the recording is a little bit clearer if this is still breaking up. So this is the user interface for the Windows Pro version. So up here, top left is the application menu. This is very similar to any other program. You can do new, open, save. You can also import other files. And it has a lot of different supported formats. AXM is FormIt's default file extension. An object file, a SAT file, an STL file, SketchUp, and even DWGs from AutoCAD. In addition, you can always export many of the same file types in addition to a DAE file, which I know can be used for Lumion and I believe also in InfraWorks, that is in the AEC collection. So moving across the menu from left to right, we have the undo and redo buttons, the select and filter, measure, you can also measure angles, a section plane, your basic creating a sketch, your primitives, and primitives include cubes, domes, pyramids, cylinders, and roofs. Under our advanced modeling tools, we have join, cut, sweep, cover, loft, offset, shell solids, and fillet. Working under the groups, we have create, edit, make unique, ungroup, ungroup all, and ungroup model. Moving forward one more, we have the location. This can be a very important aspect if you know where your building is to be placed. We highly recommend placing the location specifically so that you can then use the sun and shadow settings that are the next button over. These, of course, will allow you to understand how this changes and impacts that it might have site-wide and at a further contextual size. Next is energy analysis, and then our gear is our settings. This is where you would find your units, your snap to grid, your dimensions, edit group. You can even enlarge the toolbar if you'd like, and then your app theme, which is light, dark, or blue. Next is touch mode. Douglas and I have found that touch mode is, for lack of a better term, very touchy and will not allow you to edit any of the content within FormIt. It kind of allows you to just see it and touch it, but not do anything. Then we have collaboration, and finally, just the information about FormIt. So the Pro features that you would see up here are, of course, the Windows desktop app that we are in. This collaboration, the Autodesk materials, which we'll touch on a little bit later, the solar analysis, and the energy analysis. So moving to the right-hand toolbar on the far side of the screen, We have properties, materials, layers, scenes, visual styles. And within visual styles, we have a tab for surfaces, a tab for edges, one for environment, and one for diagnostic. Moving further down, we have the group tree, we have Dynamo, we have levels, we have our content library, and then we have our undo manager. If we look at this toolbar that's a little bit in on the right-hand side, this is our top view, our 3D view, our fly around mode. We can orbit, swivel, pan, zoom, zoom all, and zoom selection. Additionally, some of the mouse controls are if you right-click and hold, you can orbit around. If you left-click and hold, you are able to select items from either left or right. A right single click brings up another menu. This menu changes according to what you have selected. If it is a single item, it'll look differently than if a group is selected. Okay. So one of the things I'm going to do, I have pre-made another file for us to look at, but I'm going to create something simple like a window to give us an idea of how to link in content and then in turn materials. One of the things that you see on the screen is if you move your mouse around in the orthogonal direction, FormIt will automatically snap to those, which is very helpful if you're trying to create orthogonal shapes. Additionally, to get a very specific dimension, if you hit the tab key, this dialog comes up and you can enter whatever value that you would like. I am now going to turn on the identify watertight issues. From the PowerPoint, it was noted that watertight issues need to be a concern to FormIt. As right now you're seeing this is solid, the outline is red, and that FormIt is not particularly liking this because it thinks there is an issue. So what we need to do is make sure that these are taken care of. What I'm going to do, I'm going to select these and I want to offset them. So as you see, I did a right click and this brings up a different menu. We can do delete, rotate, scale. We can array it, copy, mirror, extrude edges, offset. We can smooth the edges out or we can move it. And I'm going to offset. And again, I can tab and tell it a specific dimension. And it will do so accordingly. One of the things in FormIt is this: you can now select, and then of course we can delete this if we want. Another mouse click trick, if you double click your left mouse button quickly, it selects everything that FormIt believes is connected. This is an easy way to get something that you know that you want to combine and make a group. And here we see with a right click again, these are somewhat different options than we had just a moment ago. Now we have create group, and we still had move before, but we have that now. But some of the offset is not available. So we can create group. So if you double click quickly with your left mouse button, you are now in the group edit mode. And we can take this and we can click on this surface once, and we can drag it and tell it that we want to extrude a particular value. And now FormIt believes that there are no watertight issues because it is a solid mass. and it is also a group. One of the things that I mentioned before was layers. So we need to make sure that we are creating proper layers for this to be placed on. Unfortunately, within FormIt, you cannot begin drawing on a specific layer. You must tell the item after you have drawn it which layer it wants to go on. So now, just like any other layer properties that you all are probably familiar with, we can turn that on and off very easily. So I'm just going to create.
And I think that is essential as she's showing you that, because as she moves forward with this demonstration, it's going to be key to this workflow that she's showing you, especially being able to put certain things on layers and, of course, identifying that layer to what it is.
So since this, what will end up becoming glass as a simple window, when I drew this, it was not placed on any layer. So it was easy to hide the frame, which is on layer 1, and then turn it back on as I see fit. So one of the other, when we speak of materials, and you have access to the material library from Autodesk, one of the things that Douglas and I have gone through and done is created our own types of material libraries. As you can see in this right-hand panel here, we have ceramic, glass, a generic material, wall paint, and specific wood. So if I know that I want to look at the glass, what I can do is I can drag, hold on, let me back up a step. Okay, it already did it. So before this, there was no materials in this panel. Once I drag and drop this glass library into the project, the materials panel automatically populates with all of the materials that are in this group. Additionally, I can come in here and remove this from the drawing space, and the materials are still in there. So if I click on the first material, if you do a click, excuse me, if you click and select the material, it will easily place, and now we can see there's a little bit of reflection in there, emulating some glass. And so right now there's nothing for any sort of frame. So if I go back to our content and I select the material library and place it, I can then go back to the materials tab, and I now have more options that I can select and now use on this frame. So I hovered over, I selected the gray that I wanted, and then I simply hovered over the frame, clicked once, and it placed the material. Additionally, I took the material library that was behind out, and the materials are still in there. So now I'm going to save this file locally. You can save this in either your A360 drive or locally. It doesn't matter, it's a personal preference. I am just going to name it 353 window. Okay. Now that that is saved, I am going to open a sketch that I have already kind of previously done for us. So I have created this building. I don't know if any of you are familiar, but I just used EDSI's office space, which is this rear building back here, and then created a proposed building that is on an empty site. So if I want to use that window that I just created, I can go to my Content tab, and I can add in a library folder. Then I simply path to where that is. it now appears in this list, and then I can come up to the selection bar and go to presentation content, and I now have the 3x3 window. I zoom in a little bit. I can now drag, and it's not, I need to place it down here so I can rotate it. But I can now easily place this window in this file in order to use it wherever I see fit. And again, once we select this and right click, we can easily rotate. And it puts the rotation at what it believes its origin is. And just like any other, you can tab and type in a specific value, and it will rotate it. These windows actually that you are seeing in this building currently were actually created for another client's project that Douglas worked on the windows and the openings while I worked on the shell of the building, which made it very helpful because I was able to do what I needed and then simply go to the folder that he had created, and the content was already there for me to place and for me to use. If I zoom in here a little bit, and take this and I can hover on its vertex and come up here and kind of place it wherever I would like. And it does, FormIt is smart enough to kind of snap to some things that you were seeing. And this blue line that you are seeing are actually levels in FormIt. Let me move this over a little bit. So unfortunately, FormIt is not smart enough to automatically cut the window. And unfortunately, even though there is a cut command within FormIt, it doesn't work, in my opinion, as well as it could. If I was to use the cut tool right now to cut this window from this shell of the building, it would just cut into the shell however thick the window was. It wouldn't cut all the way through. So if you would want to cut all the way through, what you need to do is to edit the shell, and it kind of disappears. It disappeared a lot. Hold on. You need to come into the shell and draw a rectangle around the window that you would like to cut, and then you can take that and push it kind of through. And FormIt is smart enough to realize that if you're pushing it past whatever thickness the wall is, 6, 8 inches, it will automatically just get rid of that portion. So now we can see through the window. We can kind of see in there, and you can see that blue line indicating a level.
I think that part right there is very compelling because as you're doing your conceptual design, no matter what you're doing, whether it's a commercial building, a school, a house, there's always going to be content that you're going to need in order to help put these things together. Certain content is going to be somewhat common, like, doors, windows, furniture. And I know Mariah is going to continue on with her presentation, but when it comes to Windows, non-hosting elements cannot be transferred over. So you will have to develop that content, and it's renewable. So no matter what you create, you can use it on other projects.
So one of the good things about FormIt is that you can, in addition to kind of linking in a content library, you can also import other models. So I have already created some by default. Yeah, so bear with it. It takes a moment to come in, and it brings it in based upon where it thinks its origin is in relation to the former project. So I know this particular mass is going to go back here in about this corner. So I apologize, this is a little slow today. And then I can come in here and I can rotate this. And this will appear, and you can easily move this tool around. You can select its center and drag to a corner. And then you can also tell it where to start. Okay, it's rotating the entire compass. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. So you can come in and you can tell it its corner to start on automatically. Then you can use the arrows to rotate. Why are you not rotating one? And you will see right now that it will snap to the green axis, which is good because we want to keep these buildings kind of orthogonal to one another. And now you see automatically that its shadow has populated based upon the sun settings that we have currently. I'm just going to File, Import another 3D model. I'm going to rotate it. And you see this one snapped to the x-axis. And its shadows now start to appear. So one of the things you probably see over here in this left-hand corner is the north arrow and how it's kind of rotating based upon wherever you are. That comes in by default when you are using this location. So I came in here and I specified basically EDSI's location, and then I grabbed the proper satellite image that I had wanted. And then you have to rotate whatever mass or building that you would like on the site. Unfortunately, in FormIt, there is no true north versus project north, like many of you might be familiar with when it comes to Revit. But alas, that does not matter when you import it to Revit. It will everything will come in, and there's an easy way to rotate project north, and you will have not lost any information. You will have not lost any of the location, the sun, anything like that. So this is then good. If we're looking at the shadows, let's just back it up to today, for example. And we can see right now that the shadows are very intense towards the end of the day. And if we move them throughout the day, we can see how they are changing. So one of the other items that is important in format that I spoke of, not only of groups and layers, but also of categories. Right now we can see that these, and this information is located underneath the groups tree. This is a plant, I believe, it was either brought in from Revit or even SketchUp. It has the category of site, and the categories that you have are mass, and mass is typically used for any of your building information. Casework, entourage, furniture and furniture systems, generic models, parking, and specialty equipment. So one of the things that is very helpful about categories is if you would assign save this bench to the furniture category, when you bring it into Revit, you can automatically switch out this bench for another bench that is under the same category of furniture. And that saves a lot of time. Any of the content, that might already be in your Revit library easily can be swapped in and out. Okay, now we can, by default, I can do Control S because I have been working in this project. But we can do a save as, and you can do it to A360 or to a local file. And you can also export it to A360 or locally. And as we saw, we can do AXM, FBX, Objects, SAT, STL, BAE, AutoCAD, and as an image. And by default, you do not need to export a FormIt drawing to be able to import it into Revit. You just need to save the file and make sure it has the AXM extension, and you should be good to go. I believe that is all regarding FormIt. I believe there is a questions panel. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to type those in. Again, this was part 1 of our web series. Part 2, at the end of next month, will show you how to bring in this FormIt model, this one that you are seeing today, directly into Revit, and how to move forward with it and what to do to be able to get going, so to speak, to get to construction documents.
Well, thank you, Mariah. Really appreciate you going over those key elements on FormIt. One thing I definitely enjoy using with FormIt is a free-form way to get started with something, especially when you have something conceptual you want to get started with. But again, there are other softwares out there that is also free-form, and you can do your conceptual design, but those will give you a CAD file. However, FormIt, again, on the next session, Mariah is going to show you how you can take that FormIt conceptual model and bring it into Revit and move on to your construction documents. So, the key, again, kind of doubling back, the key takeaways here is if you have a 3D model in mind, FormIt is going to be that solution for you because you don't lose any of that good work that you have gotten started on. You're able to bring in Revit families, furniture, anything that's not a hosted type of furniture, you're able to bring that into FormIt and utilize that as need be. She just demonstrated how you can generate something, put it into a library, and start building a great deal of content. You can bring in SketchUp models. It's very, very, very compelling to utilize. Again, this is just scratching the surface, really going over the fundamentals of FormIt and those key things when it comes to groups, layers, assigning materials to them. Did anyone have any questions? I don't see any questions coming up.
There is one. Can you apply a material to a space, or is it only to the whole object? You can do both. So let me open the window because it'll probably be. Actually, no, I can do it to the forms here. So let me just go with a simple brown color. So if I select this brown and I double click, and it wants to take me into it, excuse me. If I just click once it will apply the color all over. However, if I go into editing the group and I select just a different brown, I can do just the face. So it just depends upon kind of how your workflow is. If it is a group and you do it across the whole group as an entirety, it's going to do the whole item. If you are editing the group and you do just a single plane, it will go to just that face.
Very good question, John. One thing when it comes to adding materials to your content, as Mariah has kind of shown you, to have that material library. Could you go back to that, Mariah? That is key when it comes to adding materials, because from a conceptual design standpoint, you can model anything under the sun as an architect, but when it comes to adding materials, you need that good library there to pick from. We got another question here.
Yes. So Derek says, I noticed there's a FormIt converter that is an add-in to Revit. Do you have to open up your Revit families individually and convert them in order to bring into FormIt, or can you import them directly? Derek, you within the FormIt converter, and I did not think to open Revit today, you can simply import the entire AXM file. So if I was to import exactly what you see here, everything that is in here that you see will come directly in with this file when I import the AXM file. It will bring in the trees. It will bring in the little benches. There was supposed to be some, evidently I deleted some things out of the interior, some more furniture. It will bring in any furniture, anything that you want when you do the overall import model. You do not need to open them up individually in order to bring them in. Now you can do individual families if you would like to convert something that you have made in FormIt into Revit content. Say you went and created a very organic looking chair or bench. You can import that into a Revit family and create that as a furniture piece to use later on.
And vice versa, if you were in Revit and you have a folder of Revit families, again, the ones that FormIt approve of, it cannot be a hosted type of a family. You can use the add-in tool within Revit to go to that folder, and it will convert everything within that folder over to a FormIt style of a family. And that's how FormIt is able to read those families from Revit.
And that is actually, I have an example of that, Douglas, if just bear with me. I believe it's under furniture, and then tables is a good example. So maybe you all might be familiar with this. Under Revit, just in the furniture and then tables, that is actually what all of this content is right here that you are seeing. And when you see the drop down arrow, you have those options that you would have also in Revit from your type selector. Now this table beach one isn't in the Revit by default, but I know the desk is, the coffee table is, I know this dining table is, and I know that it has the different sizes that you can go and work with and place those.
And that right there, what Mariah is showing, is key, because again, that content that you already receive when you get Revit, straight out of the box, is very useful for them to have that add-in tool that converts it so that now you can use it within FormIt. And as Mariah has already indicated, it can go right back into Revit. So you can take a family, convert it to FormIt, utilize it in FormIt, and then it goes convert right back into a Revit family with the categories that it came from. Very, very good questions, John and Derek. Any others? Well, Mariah, this was a great session. I know I learned a lot from it, especially how you use layers. I never would have thought to construct a conceptual model so well organized on how you have it. You got furniture off, that's why it wasn't showing up.
Oh.
So see, there you go right there. So those layers are key when it comes to, again, when you're putting your conceptual model together, you want to be able to turn certain things on and off. That way you can continue on building upon it. And like I said, Mariah has an extremely good workflow here that she's showing everyone, especially when it comes to using layers, using groups, and also making sure that your model is watertight. Again, she's going to emphasize that more on the next video. And again, stay tuned for the next one, and also, share it with your friends, because when it comes to this workflow, there are a lot of architects who use other softwares, but they're still having to redo a lot of work, and what we're showing you here is how you can do your conceptual design and you can capitalize on all of that time and good design that you have as you take it on to construction documents. If you have nothing else, Mariah, I think we're gonna go ahead and end this.
I think I'm good. If you guys have any questions that you think of later, please feel free to reach out to Douglas or I. We are always here to help.
Sure are. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to you all tuning in next time as we do the second part to this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.